Okay, so if you've used all the chicken off of your rotisserie chicken, you can make stock from the bones. So I have the bones, and I removed a lot of the skin, and then I have about a half a onion, 3 or 4 stalks of celery, about 4 or 5 large carrots, and a clove or two of garlic. And you can do the papers and everything. The skins can all go in. And then I'm going to cover this with water. This is actually a 3-quart pot, so I'll cover it with water, and then we'll start to simmer. Okay, once you get to a bubble like this, you're going to want to turn it down so it's just simmering. You don't want it to boil over. Now this is a very small pan for the amount of stock I'm making. I always recommend a much larger pan, but I did it in a small pan for this video so that you could see what's happening. Okay, so yeah, I think a much bigger stock pot is the better way to go, but I wanted you to be able to see what's happening and see the different colors and textures of the vegetables as they cook. Okay, so we're about 20 minutes in, and you can see that the vegetables have become pretty soft, but they're a little bit of flex left, so it's not quite done. We haven't gotten all the flavor out of the vegetables yet, but you can start to see a bit of the color of the broth too, and that means that we're getting a lot of excellent flavor out of the bones and any of the meat that's left on there. So we will check back in about another 20 minutes. Okay, so we have been simmering away here for about 40 minutes, and it is just about done. You want to be careful not to let this go too long, or else you're going to start getting like a bitter flavor. Remember, this chicken has already been cooked once, so you're just trying to get any of the extra flavor out of the bones and any of the meat that's left. So these guys are just about done, and then what I do is I will just turn it off and let it cool a little bit in the pot for like about a half an hour. I'll move it over to the back of the stove, and then we will strain it. So check back in a bit. Okay, so it's cooled down a little bit. I can actually touch the pot now. And I have a bowl lined with a colander, and I have cheesecloth that I'm going to put in. If you don't have cheesecloth, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I just have it, and I'm going to use it. So I'm going to pause it and then pour this into the colander and strain all the solids out, and then we will have a beautiful broth or stock underneath. Okay, so I just poured it all into the colander lined with cheesecloth, and now I'm going to show you this gorgeous broth. Look at that. That was water cooked down, and look how beautiful it is. So I'm going to set this whole bowl in the refrigerator overnight. It's going to cool, and then I will show you how I store it tomorrow morning. It's Sunday morning, and our stock is completely cooled, and I wanted to show you what it looks like. So here it is. See how it kind of has a bit of a jiggle? It almost looks like Jello. If you have stock that looks like that, you did it right. Good job. So what you're seeing here is the collagen that is in the bone has cooked down, and it's turned into like a gelatin, and it's kind of jellified the stock, and that is really, really good. So if you did it, if it looks like this and you did it, you did a good job. Thumbs up. That's my thumbs up. So when it's like this, you can then take any of the extra fat that has come to the top, and you can just like skim that off. If you want, it's totally up to you. Fat does carry flavor, so if you're not worried about the extra fat in your diet, then yeah, keep the fat in it, or you can skim it off. Totally up to you. So I skimmed just a little bit of the fat off the top. You can really see a lot more of that Jello jiggle now. So yep, that's what you're looking for. So I'm gonna then put my stock into a Ziploc freezer bag. I have like a large cup, this is actually a large measuring cup, lined with a freezer safe Ziploc bag, and then I'm just gonna use my ladle, and I'm gonna try to do this while I'm holding the camera. And put it in there, and I'm going to fill that up, and then I'll show you how I freeze it. So I freeze it in 2-cup bags, and then any extra that I'm going to be using this week, I'll just put into like a container, whatever you have, Tupperware, glass, however you store things, put it in there, and it'll last for about a week in the refrigerator. Okay, so I have divided this into a 2 cup portion, and this is a 1.5 cup container. So we made about 3.5 cups. It's not quite a quart, but pretty close to like a quart or one of those boxes you might buy in the grocery store. So if you have leftover rotisserie chicken bones and some vegetables in your refrigerator, you can make your own stock. It's very simple. So I hope you follow along these steps, and I'm just going to show you how I label this and freeze it flat next. So here is our quart bag, and it's laying flat, and it has 2 cups of chicken stock. You can see I labeled. You could use a Sharpie and write right on here before you put the stock in, but I prefer to use these little freezer labels. Let me grab them. They're freezer safe labels, and they actually stand pretty well. Then I can just write what is in the bag or the container, whatever I have, the item and the date, so I know. So I have 2 cups of chicken stock and the date I'm freezing it. So I freeze it flat. I'll set this whole tray in the freezer. It'll freeze solid, and then I'll be able to stack it and save space in my freezer after it's frozen solid.